Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another What's for Dinner video. I'm sharing with you several different recipe and dinner ideas that I've made over the past week or so, and so I hope that you get some inspiration out of this. The first thing that I'm going to be sharing is a chicken noodle casserole, and I'm actually going to be using this packet of tuna noodle pasta bake that my friend Chapin sent me. She lives in the UK, and so this isn't something that I can get my hands on here in the United States. My family doesn't really care for tuna, and so I decided to basically follow the directions but make it with chicken. So basically I'm just combining the sauce mix with some milk in a skillet, and I'm going to whisk that up until it's combined and simmer it over about medium heat until it thickens. Meanwhile, I'm going to boil some fusilli pasta. I think this would be good with egg noodles as well. And then once the sauce is thickened, I just stirred that up a little bit. If I had to do this over again, I probably would have tasted it at this point and maybe added some salt and pepper. This did turn out being a little bit bland, but again, I feel like if you use tuna, it might be a little bit stronger flavored as well. So instead of tuna, I'm going to use some cooked chicken breast, and I really liked being able to keep these in my fridge because it makes such a quick, and easy jumping off point for dinner. So I'm just kind of cutting these up into bite-sized pieces, and then once the sauce was done, I put the chicken in there, and I also added some peas, and then I drained my pasta and added that to the skillet as well. Next, I'm going to give this a stir. I did add a little bit of cheese for some extra flavor. So again, a very traditional sort of like tuna noodle casserole again, except I'm using chicken. And I'm just going to stir this up until it is well combined, and I'll actually end up popping this into the oven so it can brown on the top. It's always really good in this case to have an oven safe skillet, so you can just pop that right in the oven after you make it. But here is what the finished dish turned out like. I made this on a night when I made something different for myself and Adam, but gave this to the kids. They weren't huge fans of it, but did eat it, and overall I would probably make it again with a few modifications. All right, so next I'm going to be making some Mongolian steak and green beans. This is going to be a Green Chef meal, and I have to tell you, this is the meal out of this whole video that Adam said was the best, and he said it was the best meal that I've made in quite a while. So thank you so much to Green Chef for sponsoring today's video. They are one of the longest supporters of my channel, and I really love working with them, honestly, because they offer, in my opinion, the best meal kit in terms of variety and flavor, and they offer a ton of different recipes for all different lifestyles. Today I'm going to be sharing this recipe with you, which again is the Mongolian steak with green beans. This came on a night when I was running short on inspiration for dinner, so that is always super helpful. It's always nice just to be able to cook without thinking about the shopping or the meal planning. Green Chef is a USDA certified organic company that makes eating well easy and affordable, and they have plans to fit every kind of lifestyle, including vegan, vegetarian, keto, and my personal favorite, paleo, which I have been eating lately. So it's been super helpful for me. The recipes are always quick and easy. They have step-by-step instructions with chef tips and photos to guide you along the way. It's super convenient and easy because everything is handpicked and delivered right to your door, which for me is so helpful because I am a super busy working mom, as you guys know. The best part is that they're giving you guys an awesome deal. If you guys want to get $100 off across your first 4 Green Chef boxes, you can go to greenchef.us/JenChapin100 and enter code JenChapin100 to take advantage of this deal. I'll have all of the information in the description box below. Again, it's greenchef.us and use code JenChapin100 to get $100 off Plus, you get free shipping on your first box. So right now I'm just getting my peppers cut up, and I'm going to get those into a skillet with some avocado oil, and I will end up sauteing these with the green beans, which I am going to trim. But before this, you saw me basically preparing the steak. So they do send the steak in pre-portioned packages. So all I did was just dry it off on paper towels, and then I seasoned it with the spice mix that Green Chef sent. That's another thing I wanted to bring up, is that their sauces and their seasoning mixes are so good. Basically all you have to add when you get the meals is maybe olive oil or avocado oil and salt and pepper. Super delicious and super easy. So right now I'm just trimming these green beans up into bite-sized pieces. And I wanted to mention also that I get the paleo/keto box, which has been super helpful in coming up with healthy meals. And I'm taking that seasoned steak and putting it into a saute pan, as you can see here. While that's cooking, I'm going to add the sauce to the green beans and the peppers, which have been sauteing, and I'll end up putting a lid on this and then just basically steaming it until the green beans are tender. Here's my steak, and I am searing this in a stainless steel skillet just to get a really nice crust on it, and I'm turning that over. As you can see, it's turning out really delicious. Once that was done on the other side, I added the sauce to the pan, and I'm basically just going to let that reduce until it becomes syrupy. And when that's done, I'm going to slice the steak very thinly, and then I will put that back into the pan sauce and basically just toss it in that before I serve it on the plate. So here's what this meal looked like. Again, we have the Mongolian steak with the green beans and the red peppers. Totally recommend this, and Green Chef, like I said, Adam said it was delicious, and I agree. So definitely check out that link for your discount. Okay, so the next quick meal I'm going to share with you guys is some cauliflower gnocchi with marinara and sausage. So I'm just starting out with some pre-cooked sausage here. This is just like some spinach and garlic pre-cooked Italian sausage, but I'm just slicing this up into pieces, and then I'm going to get this into a pan and saute it with some olive oil until it is crispy on the outside. I was making this on the same night that I made that chicken noodle casserole that I showed you guys before. I have been attempting with most success to eat grain-free and dairy-free, and so this cauliflower gnocchi was awesome. I basically just boiled that for about 5 minutes in boiling water until it was cooked, and then I used a slotted spoon to remove that and put it into the skillet with the sausage. You could do this with regular gnocchi too, or I also believe that Trader Joe's has cauliflower gnocchi. I need to get back there and do a haul because I haven't done one in a while and I'm definitely missing it. So right now I'm just tossing that cauliflower gnocchi with the Italian sausage, and then next I'm going to add this superfood tomato sauce. You could add any type of tomato sauce here. This is what I had on hand, but whatever, you could even use Alfredo if you wanted, but whatever sauce or marinara sauce you have on hand, just go ahead and toss that in there. If you wanted to add, sauteed onions or peppers or spinach this, you could do that as well. So I stirred that together, added some seasonings, and put some basil on it, and this is what I had for dinner that night. It was definitely delicious, and I would recommend it. Okay, so the next recipe that I'm sharing with you guys is a non-dairy cashew cheese, and I can link this recipe down below. I believe it's from Minimalist Baker, but this is an easy garlic and herb cashew cheese. You can eat this plain with crackers. It's really good, or you can also use it as a ricotta substitute. So I have some raw cashews here that I basically soaked these in water for 12 hours. You can also soak them in boiling water for about 4 hours. You just want to get them soft. I have 2 lemons. I'm going to be using both the zest and the juice from that. Some fresh garlic, some garlic powder, some dill weed, some water to thin out the cheese, some nutritional yeast, some sea salt, and some olive oil. So if you guys have been following me recently, you know that I have been trying to eat more paleo paleo. I guess I haven't really been following it to a T because I have been eating beans, but basically I've been trying to eat dairy-free and grain-free most of the time. And so one of the things that I've been trying to find a substitute for is cheese, and I would definitely recommend this recipe. Right now you just see me slicing a lemon in half, and I am squeezing that into a little measuring cup. I needed about a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, and then I'm just taking the zest off of one of my lemons with a microplane grater, which is super useful if you ever need to zest citrus fruit. And this recipe called for some fresh garlic as well, which I really think added to the flavor of that. So I'm using this like garlic roller, which takes the peels off super easily. I will link this down below if you're interested. It is very inexpensive, but if you use fresh garlic, it really helps a lot. So for those garlic cloves, I'm going to crush them, and I have this new garlic press from OXO that works really well, so I'm just kind of squeezing that into the lemon juice. I'm going to pour my cashews that I soaked into my food processor. You definitely need a food processor or a high power blender to make this recipe. I'm adding in my lemon zest and juice and my garlic, and then I'm going to add in the garlic powder. I definitely think this recipe was delicious. I did try it plain on some grain-free crackers, and it was really good. I think it would also be good in lasagna, which I think I will do with the rest of it. I added my nutritional yeast, and then the last step is just to add some olive oil. You also saw me add the water there as well, which you can add or subtract that to kind of get to the consistency that you want. So once everything is in the food processor, just go ahead and process that until it is nice and smooth. You definitely, like I said, do need either a food processor or a high power blender to make this recipe. Otherwise the cheese will not be as smooth, but you can see when it's done how smooth and creamy it is. And I tasted this and it tastes surprisingly like ricotta cheese. Like, I feel like you could put this in recipes and no one would even know the difference. So the last step is just to basically pack this cheese into some cheesecloth. If you don't have cheesecloth on hand, you could also use a clean tea towel or even paper towels, just something that will soak up the extra liquid. So I put the cheese in there and wrapped it in the cheesecloth. I didn't even really need to put this over the bowl because no water drained out of it. I think it's basically just wrapping it either in the cheesecloth or paper towel, and just letting the excess liquid soak off. And then I popped that into the fridge and let it set overnight. After it was done, I put it in a dish and added some extra dill to the top. Would definitely recommend this recipe if you're trying to decrease your dairy intake. It was delicious. All right, so tonight for dinner, I am making some grain-free chicken tenders. So I got the idea for this recipe from Keeping Up with Liv. I'll link her YouTube channel down below. But basically for the chicken fingers, you'll need some chicken. I have about 2 pounds of chicken breast here. Some eggs, of course, to dredge the chicken breast in. And then for the breading, we're going to do a mixture of tapioca flour, almond flour, and then season it with a little bit of garlic powder and blackening seasoning. And then I have some avocado oil here, just a really thin layer of that in a pan. That's what I'm going to shallow fry the chicken tenders in. And then on the side, I'm going to make some of these Alexia sweet potato fries and some steamed broccoli. Okay, so I put my sweet potato fries out on a sheet tray to bake them in the oven. If you guys have ever tried the Alexia brand of sweet potato fries, they are really delicious. I don't know that they're the most, like, quote, pure sweet potato fries, but they are really good and they cook up really crispy. So now I'm going to work on my breading station for my chicken strips. I beat together some eggs and some water, and for the breading I'm mixing together equal parts of almond flour and tapioca flour. I usually get those from Thrive Market, and then I'm adding some seasoning, some garlic powder, and some blackening seasoning. You can use whatever seasoning that you want, and I'm just whisking that up to combine. So basically I'm going to take my chicken strips and coat them in the egg and then the breading, and then just basically shallow fry them in some avocado oil. You could use canola oil if you wanted to, if that's what you have on hand. If you're following paleo, they typically recommend avocado oil. So these are some chicken breasts that I got from Fairway. They're actually really good. They were pre-trimmed, so they didn't have all of the fat on them, but basically I'm just trimming them into about 4 tenders per chicken breast. You don't want to make them super large because you are going to be pan frying these. So you want to make sure that they're small enough that they will have time to cook through. And I'm seasoning these just simply with some salt and some pepper. Make sure that you do that because you definitely want them to taste good. And sometimes the seasoning that's in the flour isn't really enough to season the whole chicken breast. So I'm just making sure those are adequately seasoned. And then next I'm going to work on cutting up my broccoli. So this is just some broccoli that I rinsed off, and then I'm cutting off the florets and putting those into my steamer pan. This is an always pan. I get questions on this all the time. I really cannot recommend it for the price. It's just a very expensive steamer pan is what I use it for. I think you can get definitely more cost-effective options, and I'm also trimming some of the stems and putting those in there as well. So here are my chicken strips. I'm dipping those in the egg mixture and then using a fork to dip those in my flour mixture. And then I have my pan with a shallow layer of avocado oil, and I'm just frying those. I would say maybe 4 to 5 minutes on each side at medium-high heat, and then I will let them rest after they are done in the pan just to let them continue cooking through. The other thing you can do is put them on a rack and finish them in the oven if you're nervous about them not being done through. But you definitely don't want to overcook them or they will become tough. So here's that batch. I'm just turning them over. You can turn them over once they get golden brown on one side and then just cook them up on the other side. Once these came out of the oil, I sprinkled them with a little bit of sea salt, and here's what they look like when they are done. They turned out really delicious. I would definitely recommend this recipe. Like I said, I will link the original video down below. Here are those sweet potato fries. They turned out so crispy and delicious. These are really good dipped in some spicy ketchup or some aioli if you need a hint there. And then here is what we had this evening: the paleo chicken strips with sweet potato fries and broccoli. Everyone loved this meal, and I would definitely make it again. They did not miss the grains. So after dinner, I decided to make this Thrive Switch low glycemic vanilla cake. This is a keto / paleo cake mix. If you've never tried it, it's really good. I have some coconut oil that I melted, and I'm mixing some water with that, and then I'm cracking some eggs into the bowl. These are the wet ingredients for the cake mix. If you've never tried this, it's really good. They also have a chocolate cake mix that's good, and then a pancake mix, which is really, really good as well. I would recommend all of them. So once the wet ingredients are mixed together, I'm going to add the dry ingredients and then just whisk that. I'm using my Danish dough whisk, which I will link down below. And then I'm also going to add some almond extract to this. I decided to do that just because I always feel like vanilla cake is sort of enhanced by the almond flavor, and would definitely recommend this. It turned out really good. So for this, I'm just putting my batter into an 8x8 dish that I lined with parchment paper. And I'm going to smooth that on the top and then bake that per the package directions. While that is in the oven, I am going to cut up some strawberries. I thought this cake would be really good with some strawberries on the top, sweetened with some stevia and some whipped cream as sort of like a low carb dessert. Honestly, when I make this kind of stuff, my family doesn't even know the difference. Like, my kids are just like, "What are you making?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm making some vanilla cake with strawberries and whipped cream." They have no idea that it's low sugar. So would definitely recommend making some substitutions like that. Honestly, your family will likely never know the difference. So once I tossed the strawberries in the stevia, I let the cake come out of the oven and it cooled. I'm just slicing it into squares, put that on a plate, and then I'm going to spoon some of the stevia sweetened strawberries over the top. The stevia is obviously optional, but it does help kind of create that strawberry sauce, which everyone likes. And I'm going to put just a couple tablespoons of whipped cream on the top. You can see this is how that vanilla cake turned out. It was really delicious. And here it was our dessert for the night. So that is going to be it for today's What's for Dinner video. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to check out that awesome discount on Green Chef. I will have all of the information in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.